let's get this video started.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for dropping in. It's great to see all your beautiful smiling faces. Today we are talking about all the things I carry with me when I ride. These are the things that I take with me on short rides, long rides, it doesn't matter. They are essential. They are things that you should absolutely have with you if you're riding a bike. Stick around. Let's dive into what I like to call my every ride carry. Alright, so today we're talking about all the things that I carry with me when I ride, and these are things that everybody should be packing along. So let's dive into all those things. Alright, people, we're going to talk about what I got in this bag, but before we do that, let's talk about my bike. You obviously saw that I've got a Specialized, which has this SWAT compartment, that's what they call it. That's where I carry all these things. Now, if you don't have this type of bike, that's fine. You can still watch this, and I think you'll still really benefit from this because these are the same things that you can put inside your Camelback or your hip pack or whatever way that you choose to carry your stuff. You can put these in the pockets of your cargo pants if that's what you're riding in. Hopefully not, but you can. So let's dive into what we got in there. Before we do that, the first thing you're going to come across inside my frame is a Windbreaker. This is just a basic, everyday, super lightweight Windbreaker shell. It doesn't have pockets, it doesn't have any extra bulk, it's just as light as possible. Guess what? If you're not prepared, it sucks. So I always keep that in there. It's gotten me out of a ton of situations. I've lent it out to a ton of friends as well, and it definitely comes in super handy, especially spring and fall. So you should have a Windbreaker with you. All right, next let's dive into what's inside this fancy little pouch, which actually isn't that fancy at all. It's just a pouch with some nice elastic straps to keep things kind of contained, one little pocket off to the side where I keep some things. And the first thing you're gonna see inside that pouch is a CO2 cartridge. Normally I would have two in here, but I lent one out to somebody on the trail the other day and I haven't replaced it yet, which I need to do as soon as I'm done with this video. I like to carry two CO2s. Sometimes bigger volume tires require more than one full CO2, and sometimes you have multiple punctures on one ride. So I carry two CO2s. I recommend if you're doing CO2s, you do the same. If you carry a mini pump, that works fine too. I've just found that the mini pumps sometimes struggle to inflate tubeless tires if they've actually come off the bead of your rim. So I prefer CO2s typically. So right alongside that CO2, we're gonna see this little contraption from a brand called Lezine. This is a combination CO2 inflator as well as a tire plug installer. I'll go through that in just a second, but first off, around the outside, you're gonna see this little tube of duct tape. Basically what I did was I wrapped some duct tape, the sticky side out, and then on top of that one layer, I wrapped some more duct tape so that it doesn't stick to it. I can pull it off. This Lezine tool has some nice animated graphics here showing how to use the tool, which is kind of nice to reference because I don't use it that often. And the duct tape actually kind of protects this Lezine tool. Duct tape is definitely an essential to always have with you out on the trail. It can not only fix things on your bike, but I've seen it actually patch up wounds out on the trail as well, so it's good to have. Definitely recommend that. So when we pull that off, beneath that we find this beautiful anodized aluminum Lezine tool. And if you have a tear in your tire, whether you've had like a stick poke through your tire or a rock has jabbed through the tire, those holes are really, really hard to fix. Even if you've got a tube with you, a lot of times you can't really use a tube because the tube will just bulge out that hole. So these tire plugs essentially fill that gap and allow you to get out of there and make it back home. So next up in the pouch, we've got this little bottle of eye drops, and these are actually not eye drops, believe it or not. I filled this bottle with chain lube. There's so many times when you have a ton of creek crossings or it's super dusty or whatever it may be, or maybe your friend just forgot to lube their chain, and I have pulled this bottle out on numerous occasions and lubed my chain or lubed a friend's chain and just taken away that squeak that's annoying everybody on the group ride or whatever it may be. So, and this is a game changer because nobody else does this. I have actually I don't think I've ever encountered anybody that carries chain lube while they're mountain biking, because usually it's in these decent sized bottles that are just a pain in the to carry. So throw some in a little eye drop bottle. All you need is like, 20, 30 drops or whatever. So boom, that's a great one. That's a great one. Your friends are gonna thank you for that one. All right, next up on this side of the pouch, we've got zip ties. Zip ties can solve so many problems. I have seen them hold chains together. I have used them to hold suspension pivots together. I have used them to hold brake levers onto handlebars. I have had them hold a seat onto a bike. They can fix just about anything. They are so useful. Definitely put them in your pack. There's a million uses for them. Always have a couple zip ties in unison with duct tape. You can fix all your problems. Dang near. All right, so let's move over to the other side of the pouch, and over there we're going to find a mini tool. Mini tools, most everybody's got one of these. They're pretty standardized at this point. Really, the critical things are to have like a 4, 5, and a 6 millimeter Allen, T25 Torx. You want to make sure you have a Phillips maybe, but honestly, you don't use those very often anymore. And every once in a while, you might run into like a 3 mil Allen if you have lock-on grips, things like that. So just make sure you have those on your mini tool. The one thing that I'm missing on this particular mini tool is a chain tool, and I used to have a mini tool that had a chain tool, and regretfully it broke. If you ever do break a chain tools are definitely necessary. Even if you have a master link, which I also recommend you carry, you need a chain tool to pop out the old broken or bent link and put that master link back in. So if you don't have one, get a mini tool, get one with a chain tool built into it, and your friends will thank you for it. All right, next up on this side of the pouch, we've got TP. Everybody needs toilet paper. Comes in handy. I mean, honestly, sometimes it's just to blow your nose or whatever, but I always carry some TP just in case. I'm one of those people, I drink coffee in the morning, things happen, so make sure you got that. Last but not least, we've got a big old Bandaid. These are great for when you have a buddy who tears open his knee, or you tear open your knee, or an elbow, or whatever it may be. These are pretty useful to have. I usually carry a couple butterfly Band-Aids as well, because sometimes you get one of those deep gashes that just doesn't want to stop bleeding, and those are super important. So between some duct tape and a little bit of toilet paper and maybe a Band-Aid, you can solve quite a few problems out there in the woods. Last but not least, on the second side of the pouch, I've got another CO2 head, and you're probably wondering, well, why would you have that? You got that cool fancy Lezine tool in there. Now, my one complaint with this fancy Lezine tool is that you have to use it with a tire plug. There's no real way to air up a normal tire valve with this tool. So I also carry just your standard CO2 valve that screws onto the end of your CO2 cartridge. And if you just need to air up a tire a little bit, sometimes you hit something a little hard and it burps a little air out of the side of your tire, or maybe you've just got a really slow leak, or maybe your buddy forgot to air up his tires because he's a bonehead. There you are. Pull out your CO2, you save the day, your buddy owes you a beer. It's a win-win. Boom. All right, so that's it for everything that I carry inside this cool little pouch here inside my frame. And then just below that, inside the frame, I also carry a tube. Everybody should be carrying a tube with them. It's the best way to get somebody off the trail if they've got a flat tire. Between this and your trusty CO2 cartridge that you've got in there, you can fix any flat tire really. Even if you're set up tubeless, you can pull out your tubeless valve, pop your tire off the rim, and throw a new tube in there and inflate it, and you're good to go. All right, so with that, that is everything that I've decided to carry on my bike in 2021. If you found this useful, be sure to hit that like button, smash it if that's what you do. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you at the next video. Thanks for dropping in. Peace.